to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Hi.
Hope you guys are all doing amazing. We are going to be doing a recording for Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. What that means is wherever you listen to your podcast episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can get the newest notification every single Monday when a new episode drops. After listening to a few episodes, do us a solid favor, do yourself a solid favor by leaving that 5-star review and give us the feedback on how we can improve and what you like about the show and overall who we should have on next. Today, we are having a repeated offender back with us. She wanted me to introduce her in a different way, but she is...
Oh, it's live.
But we're going to have fun here.
So YouTube Live, this is actually our first time in a long time that we've actually done YouTube Live. We're mostly on Facebook Live, and actually it's mostly with Brandon. And however, you probably already know this at this point, I am Jennifer Elliott, his wife. I make basically whatever Brandon spit at me, I make it happen. And so, or the offender that now is here. And so this was
the offender, the 3-time champ. No, so at the end of the day, we've been getting a lot of feedback of you guys want to see more of her beautiful face and less of mine, apparently. So
appreciate that.
And because of not just the beauty, but the brains, we wanted to kind of pour into you guys on what's been on our heart lately about communities. And so I just had an opportunity the other day to speak at one of my good friends' inner circle, like their mastermind. Mm-hmm. And it was an intimate setting. It was at a beautiful location. And we were talking about sales, we were talking about marketing, we were talking about networking, and it highlighted to me so strongly the power of your circle. And so we all grew up with different backgrounds, and usually you watching this right now, you are the one within your family, right? Just like I was the one in my family, and just like Jennifer is the one in her family. Mm-hmm. And it's at the end of the day, there are certain leadership skills that you're going to start developing and so forth. And you have some pain points, you have some things that are making you kind of chase down, what you're going after. And I was looking back, we were looking back and realizing how powerful it has been, and not a coincidence at all. But when we first got together, like within 30 days later, we jumped into our first mastermind. And so there's power behind being in communities with other like-minded individuals that are the one within their family and that want to go to the next level. And so you guys know my story a bunch. You know how I came from New Jersey, grew up a screw up, made all the mistakes, single parent mother, manic depressive bipolar. I met my father when I was 18 years old in court so he could stop paying child support. You know that I became a big pothead. I had an explosion in my apartment. I was selling drugs. I was doing drugs, and I burnt 40% of my body. I had to learn how to walk again. I went through induced coma for a week. I went through 3 surgeries. I was fighting court. I got house arrest, felonies, got those expunged, and kind of the hero journey, right, if you will, to totally, grew up a screw up in New Jersey and made a ton of mistakes along the way. And I failed forward, but I also, that lack of circle, that lack of impact, that lack of community really helps you when you're isolated go in the wrong direction. And I feel like it's very notorious in New Jersey alone, but it was for me in my story. And so now, once we got into a community, it's like, it's no surprise how each and every year investing in ourselves to be around other like-minded individuals, like we just naturally started leveling up. So anyway, I wanted to actually put you on the spot, and we didn't really rehearse this, but I wanted to put you on the spot and actually see, if you wouldn't mind sharing more about your story for a second, if you don't mind. And because not everybody knows my story, but I want to hear more about your story and give the people a little bit of feedback because, if they ask and they're like, oh, she's from San Diego. She's from, California. Then maybe they take your life differently than how potentially it might have been.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So before I met Brandon, and really before like Christ too, is so when I was a kid, my mom left my dad as a single father around 7 years old, 7 years old, and he was raising two girls. And I know San Diego is so beautiful, which it is. I'm so grateful to be living in San Diego, but I actually lived in a rough part of town. I know I try to describe this to people, and I grew up where my next door neighbor at the house they actually got raided for selling, it was a meth lab. So anyways, that was where the area, the community that I was part of. And thankfully that wasn't my story. And however, with, not having a mom, and thankfully now I do have a relationship with my mom, but I feel like that's another long story to really share.
But she had you when you were young too.
Yeah. So my mom actually had me when she was 14. She knew she had me when she was 13. And I can only imagine being that situation. I mean, I can remember when I was just 13, 14, I was still a kid. And so there was a lot, and I don't blame it on her. And I've already actually forgiven her way long time ago, even when I was a kid, because the dynamic of it was just hard. Being that young and like having to work, both of my parents, and they did everything they could. But I mean, as a kid, you just think like, oh, okay, well, there's food on the table and you're going to school. Like, you don't really think about this kind of stuff. And as you got older, you really start to see the hardship. And now when I was a kid, so my mom came back into my life when I was around like 13. When I was like in fifth grade going on, and I lived with her for a while until like 8th grade.
So she came over here, basically picked you up from school, and then took you over to...
Yeah, okay, wait, I didn't know how much we're going to share more about this story, because I think this is really like the first time I really shared this, unless you've actually gone to our events and I actually spoke and shared more about my story. And so basically, here's the rundown. My mom had me at a really young age. They did everything they could. Both my parents worked a lot and wasn't around. I was raised really by my grandparents and my uncles and my aunties around the house. Now, when I was like 7 years old, my mom, like one night, decided not to come back. And I didn't see her come back until I was in 5th grade. And she took me out of school.
And she went to Hawaii.
Yeah, she went to Hawaii, but I didn't know she was in Hawaii, by the way. I didn't know where she was. I didn't know her whereabouts. And my dad didn't give me any context.
And it was just you and your younger sister for siblings. So it was just 2 years apart.
Yeah, 2 years apart, my sister and I. And so she wasn't around. And then she came back out of nowhere during when I was in school and took us to Disneyland. And then after that, we went to go move back with her in Hawaii, where we found out that she was living for a while. And then my dad found out when I was gone, and he found out that we didn't come back home this one day. And then they had a conversation. I really don't know how that planned out. But what I can say is, as a kid, I'm like, okay, wow, I want to be with my mom. As a girl, a girl, I really wanted to be with my mom. And so that was easy. And so I was living with her for a while with my little sister until, she was young and she was still like not that mom lifestyle. And so I had to make a hard choice for me and my sister to like, we can't be living like this, and where our circumstance with my mom.
But basically you were staying in Hawaii, and then during the summers you would fly back by yourself, just you and your little sister, to be with your dad during the summer. And then you would go back during the school year to Hawaii to be with your mom. But then after a couple of years, you ended up deciding this wasn't the right lifestyle, and you just packed up and left yourself.
Correct. So we packed up.
That's a tough decision too at a very young age.
Yes, I had to make a lot of tough choices. I mean, I didn't know at the time, and my mom just had a different lifestyle, and I just felt like it was not one that me and my little sister were safe around, and just at that season. And so I made the hard choice, reach out to my grandma and let her know like, hey, we want to go back home to California. I mean, it sounds really amazing. And it was, being a company miners, flying back and forth during the summertime. It was really fun when that was, but you always hear it goes. It was fun until it wasn't. And so when we moved back here, this is where I'm telling you, like, if you didn't know my story, you wouldn't have never guessed it, because when I came back, it was a lot of trouble. Like, there was a lot of anger in me. I didn't understand, like, why did I have to make the decision to take my sister out? Why couldn't I just stay with my mom? There was a lot of questions, and like, why
are the parents not together?
Why are my parents not together? And there was just a lot of things, and I was just so angry. And then it got really it got really bad because then they split up, me and my sister. My sister went to go live with my dad. Went to go live with my grandma next to the house that, got raided. And I just didn't understand. And I was really angry inside. And so at 14, you can probably relate to this. If you're looking to fill out an empty void, you look at all the wrong places. I was the poster child for that. I looked at all the wrong places, and I had a boyfriend at the time. And then I decided the smart choice was at 14 was to go and live with my boyfriend at the time. My parents didn't think that I was going to go for it. And I think that's how Brandon and Ivy can relate, because if we wanted something and we're just so stubborn, and that actually there's a pros and there's the con to it, but the pros is like, you're just going to take it and you're going to take action and you're just going to live with it and they're just going to learn from it.
You're like, say I won't do it.
Say I won't do it, triple dog dare me. Yeah. And so my parents didn't think it did it, and I didn't think I would last that long, but I'm strong-willed like that. And I think, again, that's how we're stubborn. I like to say strong-willed, and that's how we connect very well in that sense. And
so you moved out at 14.
I moved out at 14.
You move in with your boyfriend
at the time, yes.
And so obviously history tends to repeat itself. So family is probably all terrified, thinking that you're going to end up getting pregnant at a young age, like
my mom. So
yeah.
Again, going back to the stubbornness, because they think that I was going to get pregnant, I was not going to get pregnant at all.
Yeah.
Like I was going to do nothing to get pregnant. And so with that said, even though I left from 14 to 16, so 2 years, I survived out myself for 2 years with a grade point average of 3.8. I was amazing. I'm still doing homework. I'm still going to school.
It's in your DNA.
It's just my DNA. And so glad it did not work out, because if it didn't work out, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be with Brandon, but it led me all the way to here. And what I'm trying to say is from that 14 to 16, you can even imagine, I was a free range child. I could do whatever I want. That's when this is going back to your community and who you're friends with. I didn't understand who you choose to be your friends with. It can either make you or break you. And it was both making me the person that I'm not proud of, and it was breaking me on the inside. And during that time, I got into underground raves. I did a lot of things that I was not really proud of. And actually, this is, I think, the first time I'm actually sharing this, that I got into drugs. I got into alcohol. These were things I was trying so many different things to fill in this emptiness that I felt inside, or fill in this anger and going away. But if you know this, that whatever you try to make it go away, it just either it gets worse or it just heightens up even more, and nothing else can fill it in. And so with that being said, I'm 16 now. I moved back to my grandma's house, and I'm still in this cycle of okay, I'm still, having this bad habits and hanging out with the bad people. And then I move away. So when I turned 18 and at my high school graduation, I left with another boyfriend. Okay, now you're seeing this whole thing. I left with my boyfriend at that other time and moved to Orange County. And why I'm sharing this is when you move away to a different zip code, just because you're from a different zip code, you still bring the same baggage. You still bring the same problems. Yeah. I'm hanging out with, quote unquote, a little better friends that I did before, but not that great, because they're still party people too. And so again, it was still around that kind of community that I thought that helped me. And then really, what really changed, and I really want to share this, and this will go through your community as well, and really tying it back in, is that after a while of being up in Orange County, dead-end jobs, and nothing's really working out for me, something was calling me to go back home, going back. And I was 21 at the time, to go back to San Diego. And then that's what I did. I went back to San Diego. I lived with my dad for a week, because trying to find a place, and I found my own place. After a week, I rented out a room. And that was when, at that time, I'm looking for jobs. And if you know the story, my sister actually got me a job at a Thai restaurant where Brandon was actually working at. And so holler shout out to my sister, because if she didn't actually give me the job, she keeps saying that, then I would have met Brandon, which is true. And so Brandon and we were at the time when we met each other where we were burnt out. I'm going to say this, burnt out from previous relationships, and not finding someone who, at the time, we didn't really know about the word value really until now, but sharing like the same interest, but really what we were saying, like sharing our big vision and our values and what we cared about, and that more than what our lives were. And we were young 20s at the time when I met Brandon. So I was still 21 and Brandon was 24. And so we were still young trying to figure out. But what made us unique at that time too was like we wanted something more for our lives. And so we resonated really well because of, you know, having to be the like doing adult choices at a very young age, and then having like an upbringing and with our family and stuff. So we related with that, and having bad friends and not being with good people.
Yep.
And so we've had that different pain points. And then fast forward now into like, oh wait, actually no, wait. Besides the 21. Okay, and then getting that job, we went to our mastermind like right away, right when we first started dating, went to a mastermind. And then I was raised Buddhist, but we didn't really practice anything of what the Buddhist teachings were. It was more of like a formality, a cultural formality. And I was still open about like, you know, the higher power. I didn't know about God. And when I went to church, we were invited by our mentor at that time to go to church. I was open to it. I didn't, not like I hated Christians or whatever. I believe in the higher power, and I was open. That day, I was weeping. Whatever the service was, I was just weeping in tears because I felt like I felt loved, understood, and heard, and in so many ways. And something in me was like filling up. And so
It wasn't just that service though. It was the next 3 or 4 services in a row.
yeah, but I felt like, well, that was like the
Holy Spirit basically working on her.
Really was. Really was.
Yeah.
And then when we got baptized, I'm telling you, okay, this is where it changed. And this is where we've started focusing on not just because, you know, business and how you do your life outside of personal, it really ties in together. So in business, you have your mastermind groups, you have your RIA groups, whoever you're like in professional wise, but then you have your spiritual and your personal. It's so important. And so when I got saved, it really changed my circle too of who I wanted to hang out with and really what are they believing in with you. So it's like super important.
Yeah.
So that's a spiel of like how I got to here.
I love it. Yes. So there's a couple of good pieces that you pointed out. Sometimes we like will try to run away from our problems. And I did the same thing, you know, having created a ton of problems over in New Jersey. I tried going from one coast to another coast, 3,000 miles away, and just created more problems and just different problems, if you will. And so at the end of the day, your circle is so extremely important. And so, and the energy that you're kind of putting towards that. So I wanted to kind of touch base on the main stuff that, you know, even though I threw you for a loop and caught you off guard on this beginning part, but I think it's important for people to understand. A lot of people know my story, my history. They got to experience yours now and understand, get a little bit more clarity. So I appreciate you sharing with everybody for the first time. I love it. So talk to us about energy overall and where you're focusing energy, because I think energy, you know, it can either drain you or empower you. And most of us that come from either broken homes or broken circumstances, sometimes that energy isn't always the best. And so it's important to try to figure out how to create either boundaries for that or stop giving that time and attention, even if it's to loved ones that you care about or want to succeed, just to protect your own sanity, right?
There's like a lot that I brought them in the energy. There's like a few things. It's not just people. It's like people, things, and habits of like what you are doing and that doesn't serve you. So really focusing on what really does serve you. And those 3 things, again, it's people, like Brandon mentioned, whether it's family or friends that you've grown out of, and then things, and then habits.
When you say things, what do you mean?
Things I'm talking about like
devices or
whatever your device may be. And then really being truly honest with yourself of what doesn't serve you. And so like previous in my story, I was sharing about like drugs and alcohol. Like that's what I was leaning into.
Yeah.
I stopped doing drugs and I stopped going to raves at like actually near 2021. Like I just went cold turkey, just drugs, not alcohol, but just drugs because
what, like 21 years old, you mean? Or 20 years old?
20
or are you saying the year 2021?
No. Oh, no.
Because I was like, maybe that was just a few years ago.
No.
So 20.
When I was 20
years old.
20 years old. Sorry. Like maybe like not really 21. So like maybe 19 or 20.
So about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah. Like I stopped doing drugs, and I was doing it constantly too. And I just went cold turkey because I just knew like I cannot be doing this anymore. Like my health, it was really bad. And I didn't like how it was turning. I didn't like how I looked either.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't good. And I let that go. And that was just another onion layer. And then the other thing, so alcohol, it was like, it was there for me on the good things and the bad things, all the good times, the bad times, all together. And why I say that is like it can be things like that. Whatever it may be is your vice. And I'm telling you, like, being really truthful to myself, like, does it truly serve me or is it taking away time from my goals and what my true vision is and like what my plans are for myself? And I can also say habits of like, okay, well, maybe it's every weekend that you're going out partying, and then you're wondering why you are now not just talk about like your business goals, but also talking about your health goals and your friend goal, why am I not finding the one or whatever it may be? It's like, well, what are you doing and what are you focusing on? Where's your energy being spent on?
Yeah. What circles are you surrounding yourself? Is that truly, what you want? So that energy that you're putting out, is that the same energy that you want to receive? Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, very good. And then for number 2, I wanted to mention about is like what this whole topic is really about community.
Yeah,
your circle. And it's so important. And I know how it feels when it comes to like having to let go of friends who don't serve you anymore.
Yep.
And it is like a breakup. It really is. And it's painful, but really understanding when another door closes, another door opens, and that you're making room for friends that actually do serve you and that are looking for you too, and the friends that are empowering you. And so whether it's in like, if you're part of the church, like I mentioned, like the read rooms or your masterminds, your inner circle, like it's so key of who you surround yourself with because your mind absorbs everything. I love it. I want to mention something. So today's Sunday, and my little brother, he was in the junior high service, and what they were learning today was such a good reminder for the two of us, as he was sharing, is that bad company breaks good character. And so even if you are a good person and you have, integrity and everything, but the people that surround you, if they're doing things that are like, in your heart, like that's really guiding you in your heart, like that is not who you want to be and who you see, like, is it going to help your goals with the 2025 or your vision for your life? Then it's really showing in your face, like, this is a sign, like you're here, you're listening to this, and something is like tugging in your heart, like, ooh, I don't know about these people that I'm with. Like, okay, well, maybe it's time to, slowly, like what Brandon was saying, was having boundaries to hang out with them less. Or maybe it's a family that it's like, just hang out with them a little less. Not saying you hate them, but not saying you're breaking them all fully off, unless you're ready at that point to break them fully off.
Yep.
But slowly, like, give yourself the permission to be able to protect your energy, protect your circle, protect your mind, because what you observe is going to, like, what your thoughts are becomes your actions.
Yeah.
And so it's really key of who you're listening around, whether you're listening to them subconsciously or unconsciously, it's inside your head and it's planting seeds. You either want a good seed in your head or you want a bad seed. And those are what friends are. They plant seeds into you, whether you know it or you don't.
Yeah. And it goes with everything, with family, with just whoever you're soaking up energy from. If you allow negative stinking thinking or seeds of doubt or fear or anxiety or stress or anything like that, that could just be like cancer within your life. If you allow it to grow, if you water it and you're not spending time with yourself or spending time with the Lord and like really being able to like cancel out those things, right? And that's why it's so important to pick and choose your circle and getting around higher level individuals that you want to, level up with. Like if you're not a millionaire yet, but that is a desire that you want to get to more financial freedom and more sustainability to be able to impact others and help yourself and help out your family and your future family and so forth. Like if you're not a millionaire, but you want to be a millionaire, then you should hang out with at least 4 or 5 other millionaires so that you could be the 5th or 6th one, like that. It's just, success isn't always taught. In certain cases, it's just caught by being in that atmosphere.
So good.
And so if you're in a negative stinking thinking atmosphere, like, again, no matter how positive you are, no matter how how much strength you have, eventually you're going to get pulled down with that stinking thinking. And so it's important to either create boundaries for people that like you can't separate from, like family, right? Because you only get one family, so you shouldn't give up on them. You should fight through it, but also create boundaries if needed to protect your own sanity and your own family that you're building. And then secondly, just like with friends and people that you do recreational stuff with, of just like relaxing and enjoying the weekend or enjoying your day to day, pick people that you actually wouldn't mind trading places with. And nobody's got it all figured out. We've invested so much money into mentors. And in the very beginning, I used to put people on pedestals of like, oh my God, they're this, they're so amazing. Like, I'm so humbled or embarrassed to be around you because I'm so little. And over time, I realized like, oh, I wouldn't trade anything in the world to be in your shoes because of this circumstance or because of this. Like, yes, you're crushing it here, but these areas you're not. And I've come to find that to be true in almost all circumstances with all mentors. And that's okay because nobody's perfect. Everybody's sinful. There's only one Messiah, right? It's like, so at the end of the day, it's okay. But as we're all working on ourselves to become the best versions of ourselves, like take the good, leave the bad, and keep it moving, and surround yourself with other people that you wouldn't mind like communicating and chatting and talking about finances at a fire pit or something's cool. But if they're all like, obese and, not where you want your health goals or your fitness goals, then I probably wouldn't be eating the same things that they're eating, right? I would try to get myself into a different circle that you're breaking bread or like you're networking with people at the gym, like that are fitness, and does that make sense? It's like you want to pick and choose your circles with all areas of life that you want to see improved.
And I want to add in one more thing is like, is your inner circle, are they speaking life or are they speaking death? And that's so important because in death, and what I mean by that is like what Brandon was talking about prior was, are they talking about anxiety? Are they talking about like focusing on the fearful things? And there's a lot of trauma. I want to say there's a lot of generational curses, like even before they even know that they're talking about it or they're, putting things down or another point to tie in with this is if you're asking somebody, make sure that if you're asking a question or you're getting wisdom from somebody, that they're actually living it rather than haven't lived it. And then what I mean, how that ties into life and death is that, well, if they haven't lived it and they're going to talk bad about it, they're going to kill it already. Versus like with a life, like if they already went through it, they're going to speak life into you and they're going to speak like, if they've done it, you can do it too. And so it's really important. If there's anything you can get from this episode, it's really your inner circle is so key to your goals and your life. And, take control of it because you can.
Good.
The last thing I want to share about is which I'm really excited about, is getting your credit in order. Now, with Trump being now in the House,
woo woo,
woo woo woo.
At the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of changes coming. There's already been a lot of changes, which is incredible. I believe it's all going to be great things. It's already, making waves in a positive direction. And so with that being said, there's incredible opportunities right now, like the most ridiculous opportunities. And I believe that there's going to be more opportunity, especially in the next 4 years, right?
Yes.
And so whether that's real estate, whether that's crypto, whether that's the economy, whether that's growth, whether that's your business, whether that's starting something new and being able to fulfill upon it, your goals, your dreams. And so I think the best way to really prepare for any of that is that you've all heard the saying, it takes money to make money. I believe this to be true in many cases. It's not true in every case. There's ways that you can hustle, you can grind, you can trade time, you can exchange, you can figure out ways, but there are levels to it, I would say. And if you want to make something leaps and bounds difference with your finances, the best way to prepare for that and to be able to capitalize on incredible opportunities quickly is to have the capital on standby with your finances.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And if you probably heard this as you're listening, is that when's the best to invest in real estate? It was yesterday. And the same goes for credit.
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
It's like,
And that's the same saying when it comes to credit. The best time to get your credit in order and to be able to build it and leverage it was yesterday, 20 years ago.
yeah.
And so
At the end of the day, it's most people neglect these things until it's like a real problem. Then they come to us at Credit Counsel Elite and they're like, Brandon, help me. I need to do this tomorrow. And it's like, dude, like if you knew these things were coming up, even if you didn't know, it's like, it's time to prepare for this stuff. Just because it wasn't a problem then, you were putting it on the back burner. It's like for health insurance, like you don't need it until you need it.
mm-hmm.
And so it's important to be prepared for some of these things, because what it could do for you in the long run is set you up with truly generational wealth. It will set you up. It's going to make the difference between others that are going to succeed and others that are going to stand on the sidelines watching it go by. And at the end of the day, we just don't want you to be somebody on the sideline watching it go by. I truly believe like how we got started in real estate was with credit. And if we didn't have credit, we probably wouldn't have got started. Just for the simple fact of the lack of education of all the other opportunities right now with real estate. Like there are ways that you could jump into real estate and have no money into the deals. There's ways that you can leverage. Are those the easiest? Heck no. If you ended up getting massive amounts of funding at 0%, could you be able to grow this and have more options, more tools on your tool belt? Heck yeah. And so that's what we did. It worked for us. I'm not sure if it's going to work for you or not, but we've also seen it thousands of times with other members in Credit Counsel Elite over the last 7+ years do exactly the same thing and succeed in so many different ways. And so if you are hopeful about the future, if you believe there are opportunities, or even if you're pessimistic and you're like, all dooms, like we're all going to hell. This is the worst times in the world. If you think the stock market's going to plummet and all these other things, then by all means, short everything. Like there's ways that you can capitalize off of that as well and still do very well and hedge, your bets so that you're protected. And so the way that we've done it, the way that we've taught others to do it, the way that we've always prepared and positioned for things is to get massive amounts of funding. I'm talking $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 plus with interest rates as low as 0%, something that could actually be repeated every 6 months, getting all of this funding. 0% interest, as low as 0% interest, that can be for anywhere from 6 months to 22 months, on average 18 months. Mm-hmm. And when you can do this properly and get up to a 90% approval odds, it's just a game changer. We've already had members get several $100,000 and then put it into crypto and make hundreds of thousands of dollars afterwards, as well as in real estate, getting $9,000 in passive income and each and every month. And so there's ways that you can capitalize this if you work hard, but more importantly, if you get into a community like Credit Counsel Elite, if you're getting around a circle of 250 other members that are currently actively in there playing all out, that aren't settling for less, that are pushing, the envelope and really wanting to, like, they're all the one within their family, just like we are. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, position yourself with other leaders in the community, in this nation, to be able to go to the next level. Like that's where some of the magic happens, if you will. That's where the breakthroughs will really take place.
I couldn't agree more. And I will definitely add in there, look, if you're listening to this podcast and you're here, you're not the average. You are that one person in your family that is making a huge difference. And why we cannot stress enough about like what credit, because like us being here and, for our, even not just for like our age and for like the success people ask us, and we don't put ourselves up there. We're just like you. Like we didn't go with a silver spoon. We had to, started from the bottom and started from the bottom. And so we could do, so can you. And really why we're so passionate about this, because we were able to leave our dead end jobs. We're able to build generational wealth, not only for our kids, but our grandkids. That's what I'm talking about when we're talking about real wealth. Come on, somebody. And so credit, you guys, it really has changed our life, and not just for the future, but even in the moment of us even traveling and getting to see the world, get to experience life. There's so much more than just being able to fund opportunities. It's really being able to fund the life that you've always dreamed of, that we've always dreamed of. And we're not just the only living testimonials, but the thousands of members that we have been able to help, and seeing them and then their family, and then they're taking these trips, and just that's what really fires like in our hearts, and why we want to share with you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So with that being said, if you haven't prepared and positioned yourself, because look, maybe a month ago you were super excited saying like, hey, 2025, it's going to be my year. It's going to be my year. We're doing big things. And then, we're at the end of the month. A whole month has gone by now. So 12 months of the year, we're already down to 11 now. So has everything positioned and prepared just as you saw it about a month or so ago? And if it hasn't, great, congratulations, proud of you, and keep doing what you're doing. Otherwise, like, jump in if you want to take this to the next level. Otherwise, if you're not necessarily where you're at, or you feel like you're missing out on opportunities, you feel like there's time passing you by, and you don't know the next move, you don't feel confident within the funding opportunities, you don't know how to talk to the banks, you don't know how to position your credit profile, you don't even know how your score is what it is, and you have some ideas, or you think you know a lot about credit, but let me promise you, you don't, because they're not teaching you out there. And if you haven't put in the 10,000 hours plus like we have, then it's going to be a long run for you at the end of the day, because there's a lot of misconceptions, and there's a lot of BS out there when it comes down to finances and credit at the end of the day. And so if you're looking for an experienced all in one, place, and really like true results that pay you dividends, that really set you up for success, then I encourage you to check out Credit Accountancy Elite. We are hosting a free webinar coming up this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can simply register for that. You can DM us on social media asking for the webinar. Just DM us live webinar, and we'll be honored to connect you and make sure it's free. It's totally free. There's no strings attached. I guarantee you're going to learn something amazing on there that you've never heard before. I guarantee that. And we're also going to spoil you with some free gifts and also breakdowns of exactly how these banks are judging you, so you know how to play the game, and you can get a chance at being, getting up to $500,000 with interest rates as low as 0%. That can be repeated every 6 months for a person. So if that makes sense to you, then I encourage you to DM us on social media. Otherwise, go to our website and you can simply just book a free call with either myself or somebody else on our team, one of our assessment coaches that have been doing this for the last several years with us at Credit Accountancy Elite, that are trained and qualified to be able to go over where you're currently at, where you're looking to go, and give you that roadmap of what it looks like to be able to get there, because we have the game plan for you. And most people just don't know the rules to this real life Monopoly game that we're all playing, whether you acknowledge it or not. This is like the Matrix, if you will. Like, this is real life Monopoly, and we want to show you the game so that you know how to play the rules. You can get the funding that you need, that you deserve, that you qualify for, if you know how to position yourself for it. And you don't need to use any of the funds. You don't need to use any of this. Like, you get hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't need to use it. But let me tell you how good you'll sleep at night knowing that you have all this readily at your fingertips to be able to take down opportunities that you've been seeing pass you by for a very long time. That frustration, that fear, that guilt, like that's like sinks into the bottom of your stomach. Like, that isn't a good feeling that anybody wants. And I want you to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that are coming up and that are truly around us right now. So get this type of funding, because what it can do for you, your family, your finances, your future, it could be life-changing in so many ways if you give it the opportunity to. And so I encourage you to go to creditcounselelite.com. Do that right now. That's creditcounselelite.com. There's a quick 5-minute video on there that explains more about what the heck we do here at Credit Counsel Elite. And it will also help answer some of your questions. It will also prepare you, ideally, for asking great questions on the call. Then show up with your significant other, your business partner, your friend, your family. And then at the end of the day, we'd be honored to be able to help you out with this stuff. So, and then social media, you can DM us on there or follow us on Credit Counsel Elite on IG. Otherwise, Brandon Elliott Investments on IG. And then what's yours?
You already know, Jennifer the Entrepreneur.
Cool. Anything else you want to leave the people with?
Just go for it. Take the leap of faith and just go for it.
What do you got to lose?
Yeah, what do you have to lose? And at the end of the day, it's scare money doesn't make no money. And you not taking action and just getting all the, dreams are dead when action is not taking place. And so, with that being said, you got to take action and you just got to go for it. And that's has helped us. And there's been lessons through it.
Yep.
No losses, just lessons.
Yep.
And so we can't wait to see you on the inside.
Yeah.
And that was a wrap. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Love you guys so much. I appreciate you for tuning in. Share this out if you haven't already. Tag somebody that needs to see it. We are very passionate about what our journey has looked like and how we've been able to get financial freedom, how we've been able to take down almost $14 million in real estate assets and be able to have an incredible company we're making huge impact with and traveling the world and all that fun stuff. If it worked for us, we know it can work for you. And we're just living testimonies behind it. We've helped out so many other people in the space, and we would be honored to give you an opportunity to at least have a conversation of what that would look like, giving you the roadmap so that you can do it either on your own or you can ask some questions on what it looks like to actually work with us. And we'd be honored to be able to bless you with this stuff. And we do have pledges that we will work with you until you get results. So you have nothing to lose, so much to gain. And it really just comes down to you. Like she said, at the end of the day, we failed forward. We've made plenty of mistakes, and those are life lessons. They're not, losses. We're not counting them as losses. We've had certain things happen for certain reasons to be able to help us learn so we don't make the mistake again, so we can break through the ceiling, we can get a new floor, and we can go to the next level. And so we'd be honored to be able to do exactly the same thing with you guys. So pray this finds you well today. Enjoy your week. Get out there and crush it, and reach out if you have any questions or want to connect any further. Okay. Love you guys all so much. Stay tuned and stay blessed. We'll see you on the next one.
We love you.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.